Now, so a very good afternoon to everyone watching us for the African Youth and Student Travel Conference 2021. Welcome once again. And this year, we'll be looking at the opportunities for the African youth. Over the next 5 years, really for this program, we'll be looking at sustainable and responsible travel. So this year, we're looking at opportunities for the African youth under the same theme. I will go right into the introduction of our panel, and I will start with Kenny. Hello, Ken, are you available for the introduction?
Oh, sorry, I was talking. I didn't know I was on mute. Hi, my name is Kenny Agyapong from Afrochella Culture Management. So let me turn my camera on. How's everybody doing this afternoon?
Paulina, you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Paulina Megase, and I manage EIM Learning and Development Consult. Thank you.
Reynold, can you introduce yourself? You're on mute, I think.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so thank you so much. My name is Reynold Owuor. I am a talent consultant working with a global recruitment firm based in Kenya. And I'm really excited to be having this conversation because as a recruiter, I see a lot of opportunities for young people across the continent that people are not really taking advantage of. So I feel like this conversation is really timely. Yeah, I can't wait to get started. Yeah.
Thank you. So we'll dive right into the conversation, and the first question I would probably ask is what the challenges are. Is it from our perspective, is it institution-wise, is it the student or the youth, or is just a system problem? So I'll start with Paulina, since she runs more of a learning and development company.
Okay, good afternoon once again. And just like Reynold said, when it comes to development amongst the youth, it's something that I'm really passionate about. And going into the challenges, per my experience, I would not speak from the employer's point of view. I would speak from the student's point of view. I think it's more of, firstly, people not being ready to invest into themselves and their development. And that's one thing that I've realized, communicating and working with a lot of students, you realize that most people do not know how important it is to develop or invest in your development. And another challenge I would raise is a thing of mindset. And so people are quick to identify the issues around them. But when it comes to coming up with solutions, we are eager to point fingers at who is not doing what's right and not. So not having a good mindset as a person or as an African youth also limits you to seeing the opportunities around you. And for me, one thing that I'm really passionate about is mentorship. So I would say that it's important for every young and growing person to have a mentor. And we realize that one challenge is that as young people, we do not have people ahead of us that we can look up to, people who have already been there, made the mistakes, who can walk us through our path for us to be able to explore the opportunities around us and not being able to just see the opportunities and resources available around us. So these are some of the challenges I would name from the student point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulina. Reynold?
Yeah, I think what Paulina has highlighted is really, really important. It starts from your mind, like what are the opportunities? Let's start from there. How do you define an opportunity, and what do you think is an opportunity for you? Because some people assume an opportunity is like that well-paying job that you should be earning, I don't know, probably like 100,000 USD annually, and you should be on some sort of level. And we often not realize that opportunities are all around us, and it just begins with your mindset. Like, how do you think about like what opportunities will help you get into the space that you want to get into? And also, second thing is having a long-term plan. I've been in spaces where as young people, we just want the now, and we just think about what can help me now, and not even think about like how will this propel me to where I want to be in 2 years or 3 years. And sometimes thinking about these things is very difficult. And if you don't have, as Paulina said, if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have someone who is helping you or guiding you through like managing these tough conversations or thinking through these tough decisions, then it can be very difficult to make that long-term plan. So number one, I'd say, how are you thinking about opportunities? What do you define as an opportunity? And how can you be able to launch your career, or how can you be able to kickstart where you want your life to go? Number two is, who is guiding you in these decisions? And have you thought about it long-term? Have you thought about where you see yourself in the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or even 10 years? Yeah. Because sometimes we make so many plans in a year and we forget that a lot can be done if we scale out that plan in terms of 5 years or 10 years, we'll be able to achieve that much more. Yeah. So those two would be my introductory statement in terms of the opportunities for young people. And of course, we can't talk about opportunities without thinking about the obstacles, but I'll delve into that a little bit deeper. But yeah, I would just want to kick off the conversation with that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Reynold. Kenny.
Definitely, with the youth is very important, because like Roland said too, like everybody think, like I would use like even Afrochella as an example. Everybody think, oh, because it's an event and stuff, you just like wake up, boom, you just do it. Like it takes time, like gradually. Like one advice I always tell everybody is like, when we were all young, like we started crawling, then you touch the wall to hold it to wake, try to keep still, then you start walking. So it takes gradual steps. You can't just like make it overnight. Time, it's better to make your mistakes earlier than when you think you made it all the way to the top. They start making mistakes, and then you're like, oh man, like you don't know what to do or whatnot. There's definitely like gradual steps to take you very far.
Okay, thank you.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So my next question is, how did we get here? How did all this come about? Like the student not being able to identify, because since everybody seems to be seeing it from the personal point of view, like people not ready being, so how did they get here? How did we get here? So I'll start with Kenny again.
As in general, but I'm sorry, can you repeat the question as how do we all get here?
With the challenges we are facing as the youth not being able to, because since everybody seems to have it from the perspective that it's more people not being ready. So how did we get here? Is it?
I think it's harder now, because I think it's because of social media, actually, because like when you see, because people don't show like, okay, maybe like not their hard work, but like if they're struggling to do something, but they just show the final product. So if somebody don't know like the steps and what they're doing to get to where they're at, they'll think, oh, just look good. Oh, let me try and do the same thing as well too. I think social media plays a very big role in that. But we'll have to like advise people too, like you let them know, like, oh, you have to do it this way. It takes time. Like people need to share that side of the story, not just the final product online.
Okay. Thank you. Reynold?
Yeah, I mean, it's a product of a lot of things. I was in a conversation the other day with some Kenyan entrepreneurs and also people in the HR space, and we were just talking about what are some of the challenges that we have faced or like we're currently facing. And I think one, it begins with institutional challenges. So our education system, I don't know how it is across like the other African states, but I can just speak to East Africa. In East Africa, our education system only trains you to think linear. Like once you do a degree in economics, you can only get into in that part. But more often than not, life is not linear. Like life is not a linear path. Like you can do, I have a friend who did medicine, but is currently working in a bank. So our education system is where it starts in terms of how we are taught what to think and not how to think. And that's usually the challenge, that when we are trying to get out of that mindset after you finished your degree, it's very, very difficult. And this is where it leads, like, people getting lost in thought, people getting anxious about the future. You find like you're getting down a rabbit hole, and it's not fault entirely. It's because you've not been trained how to think, but more of what to think. And number two, I would say also our environment in terms of our parents and people that we surround ourselves with. So if your whole life you have been surrounded by lawyers, you've been surrounded by pilots, your family probably has a hotel business, and your dad was thinking you could join the hotel business and you could be able to run it, then your mindset will be very, very narrowed. You'll be narrowed towards what you're seeing in your environment, and you won't be able to think about, okay, what are other things that I can be able to try and do and try and achieve. And that's why I love organizations such as ISEC, Model UN, all those organizations that are within campus, that sort of broaden your mind to see that life doesn't need to be linear. There's so much you can do outside what you've been taught or what you've been exposed to enable you to make an informed decision. And also just something to also tell people out there, like, you can have 3 or 4 careers. Like you don't have to limit yourself, like you don't have to limit yourself to what you've been taught is the way of doing things. For you to be able to find out what opportunities are out there, you need to be able to challenge the norm. You need to be able to be confident and say, okay, I might not know what else is out there, but I'm willing to explore and I'm willing to find out. Yeah.
Thank you, Reynold. Paulina?
Yeah, I think Reynold has touched on most of the salient points. So yeah, definitely it stems from a lot of things, from institutional to how we socialize when we are growing up, to the kind of people that we surround ourselves with. And that's what builds the kind of mindsets we have when we think of opportunities and career. And the way our educational system is structured here in Ghana, most people, I think things are changing now. People are, challenging the norm and trying to venture into places where normally people would not have considered as the ideal job type. And especially when it comes to, art events, and people are really doing well. Like, they are changing the story when it comes to those areas. At first, it was like going to a business school, becoming a banker, doing economics, exactly, becoming this and that. And now we are seeing that you can be a photographer and become the best at what you do. You can be an event organizer and be the best, and the global world is going to celebrate you for what you do. Like, we are understanding that all these things come together to make the world a global village. So you don't need to limit yourself to white collar jobs and all those things. So definitely, I think the mindset is changing, and people who are also in the front line changing the storyline are doing very well, which is encouraging the young people to know that you can stand on your ground and say, I'm going to do art when I grow up, and I'm definitely going to succeed in that area. I don't need to be a banker. I don't need to be a doctor to let everyone know that I went to school for 4 years and I graduated and I am this and that. So definitely the educational system being able to allow the students to think outside the box. So if you're studying entrepreneurship in school, you are thinking of coming up with something after the course and not just going to sit in class and get an A and move on to the next class. If you are studying something else, maybe creative arts in school, you're thinking of starting your own business in your small area, being able to identify niche from what you study in class and being able to transform the society from what you have studied. It's very important. And I think that's one thing we need to look at when it comes to our educational system. And just like Reynold said, organizations like ISEC and the others have really helped some of us whilst we were on campus to become who we are today, and definitely would encourage anyone to take up these opportunities. Even if it's a little leadership position in your classroom, you should take it, because it would open your eyes to something that you might not have explored if you were sitting in your comfort zone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Paulina. So let's look at the opportunities. So which opportunities are available that people are not really taking hold of, especially in terms of youth and students? I'll start, Paulina.
Well, I mean, a lot of them. When you ask, I don't know, I'm someone that beams with smiles when you ask about which opportunities are available out there, because a lot of them. And there's one thing that my friends always say, like I always tell people, Google is your friend. So you can just, even before this like talk, I just went to Google opportunities available to the African youth, and a lot of things, standing from conferences to fellowships to master's opportunities to scholarships, internships. There are a whole lot of them out there, depending on what career you want to venture into. But first of all, you should be able to map what exactly you want to do in the long term. It's important for you to think the long term, because trust me, the long term always pays off. And one I'll always say is that trust the process. Trust the process, because it might not seem like it's initially. It's hard. I won't come and sit here and lie to you that it's not hard. It's hard. Sometimes you might even want to give up because you ask yourself, what at all am I doing? What at all am I looking for? But then in the long term, it definitely pays off. And so for the African youth, definitely opportunities in your country. Let's not also dispute the fact that there are opportunities in our country. Like we hear people say, and there are no jobs. Yes, we agree there are no jobs. But even around you, when you look around you, there are opportunities. It's just for you to be able to identify the niche, associate yourself with the right people. If you're in level 100 now in the university and you're listening to me, make sure you spend all your vacation days fruitfully. Like make sure you use them for things that would, connect to your long-term goal. So internship, don't be scared to volunteer. I understand that, we need money, but volunteering is really, really good because it adds up to your experience. It allows people to open up in certain areas to you that you might not even, know if you were in the comfort of your home watching television or programs during the vacation. Secondly, the same internet you use for Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, Twitter, bashing people up and down is the same internet that these opportunities are on. So make good use of your time, because we all have 24 hours. The person you are competing with in China, Germany, USA, everyone has 24 hours. Everyone has access to internet, and yes, it's even faster. So you have to make good use of, you have to make very good use of the internet that you have access to. If anything comes to mind, search for it. If you are talking to someone and they say something you don't know, write to someone. When you go home, search for it. What was this person talking about? So use the internet wisely. If you meet someone you would like to, and then one app that I would advise every young person to be on is LinkedIn. It has helped me a lot. I have connected with a lot of great minds on LinkedIn that I am even yet to meet in person. Don't be scared to ask questions. Excuse me to say, now local language, they'll tell you that you are honampe job or you are busybody. Yes, be that honampe job for your future. Don't be scared to ask questions. Be courageous. Be curious. If you don't know something, ask. And I think that is what even pushes you to the longer term goal. You have to be curious. If you are not curious enough, you would never know, because you would always be in your comfort zone. So be curious to know, search, ask questions, keep on pushing. And definitely, for me, I would say the opportunities are out there. You can look in yourself. You're going to work for a company, you definitely need basic Excel skills. You need to know how to do PowerPoint. If your CEO wants to call you to write minutes, imagine there are 10 interns and the CEO comes and says, I need someone to write a minute. You raise your hand quickly. That's a step getting closer to the CEO, because now he has noticed you. So these little things that will push you ahead of your colleagues, it should be at your fingertips, and they are available on YouTube for free. You don't even have to pay anything. All you need is the internet. Also, if I keep talking, I'll keep going on and on and on. So yeah, yeah, definitely. There are a whole lot of opportunities out there.
Okay. I'll go to Kenny.
I think like seriously, Pauline nailed everything, because like one thing I always say is like, what's the worst that can happen? Like she's saying, like ask questions and stuff like that. If you don't know something, we spend more time like in tree doing concern, all that stuff. But you could use it to do research and stuff like that. So like she literally said everything. Like I don't have nothing to say with that. Like 100% agree with what she just said.
Reynold, anything to add?
I mean, as Kenny said, Pauline she's just hit every nail on the head. I think what I just like to emphasize is what she said about having a long-term plan, because you cannot just jump into anything without planning yourself out. If you want to get into event management, there's so many events that you can volunteer. We even in Kenya, we have events that usually give volunteer opportunities for guys who just want to learn about like the intricacies of organizing events. I'm sure even Afrochella has like the give back initiatives that you can volunteer in. So if you want to get into a certain field, figure out how can you start. You'll have to start from the bottom, but as you're starting, like, you can use the internet, as Paulina mentioned. Like, how are you going on? We call it in Kenya, we call it the YouTube Academy. Yeah. How are you taking yourself to YouTube Academy and upskilling yourself around those things that you need to, something that are basic skills, basic skills that you might not have. As a recruiter, what I do on a day-to-day basis is I recruit for senior level executives across Sub-Saharan Africa. And something I've learned from that C-suite level is that some people even on that level don't even have basic PPT presentation skills, and it's because maybe they've never had to use it. But now in the age that we're in, it's something that people assume that you are able to do. They assume that you can be able to draft a document and be able to use spreadsheets. You can be able to use Google Slides. So how are you able to upskill yourself to some of these common skills, or some skills that have become basic for you to be able to launch yourself in your career? But very, 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 very important is having a plan and finding out what are the opportunities that I can use to be able to kickstart my career. Yeah. And two is, as I said in the beginning, what is an opportunity for you? Like, do you want to go back to school? There are very many scholarships that you could apply for, or do you want to learn through a fellowship? You could apply for there's several scholarships in the continent and also outside the continent. So asking yourself, what does opportunity mean to you? Is it education wise? Is it career wise? Is it upskilling wise? Like, what does the opportunity mean to you, and how can you be able to position yourself to be able to get to where you want to go? And starting small, you always have to start small. Like, you will not start at the top, and that's something that sometimes as young people we take for granted, that you just start and you'll be really great at what you do. No, you have to know that you have to start really, really small. Yeah.
Thank you, Reynold. What's my next question, which is, from what you said, why is the youth and students not doing this? Why are they not trying? Why are they not willing to develop in themselves? Or I don't know what it is. So I'll just let you answer if it from your perspective, whether from the cultural perspective or from educational perspective. So I'll start with Paulina. You're on mute, I think.
Sorry, it happens to me a lot. Anyways, is the question, why are they not willing to improve themselves?
Well, yeah, why are they not willing? Why are they not trying?
I think it's two things. There's a party that is willing to try, but they don't know how to start, okay, or how to go about it. And there's a party that probably just doesn't care and is blaming the government and society. There are no opportunities, there are no this and that. So I think this conversation is actually for the party that is willing to start, willing to, explore, but they just don't know how to start, how to go about it, and what to do. So for me, I just put those people in two categories. Yeah.
Okay. Reynold?
Yeah, the lack of, I think, just to echo Paulina, the lack of knowledge is a big factor. If you're in an educational system that hasn't exposed you to these other opportunities, you would not be able to know. So there are people who it'll take you a while to get there, but if, as Paulina has said, if you have the willingness to learn, if you have the attitude to want to develop yourself, then it's easy to try as many things and be able to find your niche. But if you don't even want to try, like your whole life you've been told this is what you're gonna do, and that's what you do, and then you end up 5 or 10 years down the line, discovering, actually, I don't really like doing this, or this is not something that I am I'm seeing myself retire in. Then you see you have wasted 5 years or you have wasted a couple of years not having direction, always being swayed by the emotion. And then you're like, but I never had an opportunity. But the question is, did you actively seek them out? Do you ask yourself, like, how can I be able to develop myself? How can I be able to get an opportunity in this and this and the other? So if you don't have a curious mindset, and if you're not openness to change and willing to learn, then finding the opportunities will be very difficult, and then you'll end up being disgruntled. You'll end up being those employees who Monday you're already tired. You're like, I can't do this, or you'll end up being very, very frustrated in your life. And the question is, did you ask the right question? And did you ask yourself how you can be able to get to where you want to go and how you can be able to start? Yeah. So asking the right questions, being willing to learn, and being open will help you fight some of these challenges that we are facing in terms of our educational system and also our society, because we are coming from a generation that was used to things being done a certain way, and they didn't also have opportunities such as like the internet or being exposed to so much information. But now that this generation is exposed to that, is exposed to such information, I would say, if opportunities are not knocking on your door, it's because if you're not getting the opportunities, it's mainly because you're not asking the right question, and you also don't know which doors to knock. And networking plays a huge part in that. Yeah.
Kenny?
Definitely. And also another thing, I always tell even my staff and even at work, is don't give an excuse. Try to find a solution. So good example, I lived in Ghana for 7 years now. I'm originally from the US and I moved there. And I know in Ghana, sometimes it's hard. When people finish graduating from school, if they went to school for business and finance or let's say banking, and any opportunity comes, they're like, oh no, if it's not in the bank, I don't want to do it. But coming from America, when I first graduated from school, I was working for Whole Foods Market, which is a supermarket. I wasn't packing the bags or anything like that, but it was a job that I started with at first. So definitely have to get out your comfort zone. You can't be like, oh, I went to school for this, or maybe I don't think I'm qualified to do this and this. Don't give any excuse. If an opportunity comes, or if you see something, go for it. I could give an example. It was a lady that she actually worked with us now. So she graduated from school, and for 2 years she didn't have a job. So what she did was ice kinkers. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's like some food, but you could mash it up with water, add some sugar, and then you could drink it. I actually have one in my fridge I can show you. So what she did was she was going to different, it's outside of a Tema, which is outside of a crowd. She was going to different sites. She makes it in the morning, packages it, freezes it, because all the different construction sites, because everybody has to eat. So she'd go there, she'd sell it, one. So then one time, when we was doing some construction, so one of the managers was like, he was talking to, she's like, I've graduated from school, I don't have a job, so then I just started my own small thing. He's like, this is something my boss will like. So then my boss was there, met her. He's like, wow, this is very interesting. Even though you finished school 2 years, you couldn't find a job, you started your own thing. So then, long story short, we hired her. So she works with us. So because of even though she wasn't ashamed to be selling the food one by one, place to place, now she started out, it was something small. Now she has a full-time job and she's still selling the cake. And now she has hired 5 people that work for her while she's here. So opportunities are always there. We can't give an excuse. I know sometimes it's a burden, we have government. But if people with the same mindset, or if you just get out your comfort zone, you could definitely always make it. It may be hard, you may struggle at first, but if you know what you want to do and where you want to get to at the end, you're never going to fail.
Okay, thank you, Kenny. So going back to Kenny's point on not giving an excuse, people might see it as 2 things. Probably the fact that they are deviating from what they actually want to do, and also the capital to start maybe a small business or things like that. What advice or what information do you have for these people? I'll start with Kenny. And
okay, I can even use it as a personal example. Good example for Afrochella. When we first started, there was no capital. It was 5 of us. We just put our money together. Let's try to do something small. Again, you should always think when it comes to business wise, think small. Or start small, but think big. So you know where you're gonna go collect maybe in the first year, maybe in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So if you have that mindset, it'll be easy. But also like with the capital, I know capital is very hard. So it's just all about savings. Like maybe you're working at I'll just keep using the bank. You're working at a bank and you know right now it's a job you're doing right now, but in the long run, you want to do something else. I think what you could do is like some free advice instead of, this is actually something my dad told me. When you're working, try to, if you don't have no kids or anything like that, save 70% of whatever you make straight, just save it. It will be hard, just close your eyes, just as soon as you get paid, take 70%, save it. But one thing too with our generation is like, as soon as you get a job, I want to move out. I want to get my own place and stuff like that. That one, is going to cost extra money. Because I know living in Ghana, a lot of people, you can still live with your parents, even though they're going to tell you what to do, this, back and forth. But I think it's better to do that, save some money. Then if you want to start something in the long run, you have some small capital. So when you start with the 70%, you have that saved. And then maybe when you want to start your business, use 30% of that capital that you have. Save the other 40 for just in case of a rainy day. You never know if the business is going to go south or not. So, and even if you want to move out, people get a big place, a 2-bedroom apartment, but it's just them in there. Doesn't make sense. Get a couple of roommates. Now you can split the rent. But it's just a sacrifice. I think at the end of the day, if you know what you want, again, you just have to make the sacrifice early, and you definitely will get to where you want to be. And then the future is always bright.
Thank you, Kenny. Paulina?
Yeah, I think I basically agree with everything he said. Saving, because definitely you can start a business without capital. And yeah, being able to save, understanding people who have already started so that it makes it easier for you. You just have to, navigate your way through it. And also just knowing that entrepreneurship is for the brave heart. So be willing to go through it all and not giving up. And if one fails, definitely there's one out there that's going to work.
Reynold?
Yeah, I mean, what Kenny said about starting small and thinking big is very important. First of all, just big up to you and your co-founders. I think what you've done with Afrochella is amazing. I heard about Afrochella in 2018. I was like, it's in Ghana, but I have to go to Afrochella, and it's still in my bucket list. So the fact that you guys were able to start small and it became something that was big across the continent, I think is something. It's a testament to that entrepreneurial grit. And as Paulina has said, entrepreneurship is difficult, and it's okay if it's not your bread and butter, because everyone is different. Not everyone is bred to go through the entrepreneurship. Maybe you'd be a really good finance person if you're working for someone else and you're thriving in that environment. So never think about, I'll say it again, life is not linear. Don't think about if all your friends are entrepreneurs, or it's the big hype and you jump into it, you throw in all your money, and then you don't have the grit, you don't have the resilience to be able to stay in that entrepreneurial space, because entrepreneurship is not easy. So think about where you want your life to go, and think about your personality. You have to do a whole complete 360. Situational and self-awareness are very key if you want to progress in whatever field you have chosen. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be aware of what skills do you have, what's your attitude, how can you be able to grow, and what are the challenges or what are the weaknesses that you have that you probably would need to bring a co-founder to help you supplement, or 2 or 3 other people to help raise funds as Kenny and his co-founders did, to be able to make your dream come true. If entrepreneurship is not your bread and butter, if it's not something that you would be able to thrive in, then think about what am I good at currently? What sets my soul on fire? And what is easier for me to do? And what career paths are tied into that? Because initially, personally for me, I actually thought I wanted to be a doctor, and mainly because my mom is a nurse. So I was like, this feels like something I love dealing with people. I love interacting with people. This sounds like something I can be able to venture into. But it was through talking to a career counselor and just finding out your main North Star is working with people. there are so many other careers in that line that could expose you to work, to be able to work with people and help people. Helping people could mean different things to different people, you know. So think through it, but don't have a closed mindset. Like, you just think about, like, what's your North Star, what sets your soul on fire, and what are the various careers or opportunities that can be in line with what you can be able to do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think I go on to my final question, probably. And how do we start exposing people to the opportunities available, especially from our circle, from this conversation? What can we do to make people aware of opportunities available, whether to their interest or not? And which ways can we do this? I'll start with you, Reynold.
I mean, I'm the worst person to start with because my network is very, people in my network are very well traveled and well researched, and they know either as much as I do or even more. But the people who I would say like under me, or how people to expose people, let's say one is this platform right here, like attending virtual sessions like this that are free, that otherwise you would pay for if you're going for a conference, is one way to start. Hosting these spaces, I think, first of all, like Oswell does a good job on this, because this is one of the ways that we expose people into thinking outside the box, into thinking beyond their perceived limits. Yeah. So one is having more conversations like this, and two is also challenging the norm. I'm usually the person who would be very in a conversation. I'd be the one who's asking all the why questions. You know, like someone tells me I want to be a doctor. Why? I want to do it because of this. Why? Like if you can answer it consistently through 5 whys, then you would know this is something that you really want to do and you thought through it. Yeah. So being able to question, ask yourself why 5 times. If you can answer that question, that one question 5 times, then you would be able to dig into, like, you'd be able to expand your knowledge and start to think through, like, actually, do I actually want to be a doctor? You know, because I myself asked myself that question and I was flunking chemistry. Like, you want to be a doctor, but like the foundations of getting you to be a doctor are not there. So like thinking through holistically and being able to question yourself. And also when you're in those conversations with family or friends or even at church or whatever religious gathering, if you're a Muslim, like having those open and honest conversations, I think would really help, because sometimes even people in your network, if it's in school, maybe they just need you to tell them about it. Because when I was joining ISEC, I just told like 2 or 3 of my friends, and they were seeing what I was doing and I was talking about it a lot, and they also wanted to join. And like, that's how right now they're in their different fields, because that one statement or like that one thing that you say to someone could really open their mind. So don't hoard the knowledge, and don't
I think we lost Reynolds for a moment. So we're going to Paulina.